The ball and another review of the Premier League in a big weekend of Premier League action. Me and Sim going head to head in predicting the Premier League. 234 apiece. Game week 25. The way the scoring works, it's 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result. And that star man, once you pick him, you can't pick him again for the rest of the season. 5 points for a goal, 2 points for an assist. Start off with Friday Night Football at Ellen Road. Leeds 3, Nottingham Forest 1. You went for 1-1. I went for 2-1 to Leeds. And yeah, I was watching a bit of this game, and I think Nottingham Forest pretty much weren't in the game, to be honest. I think it was one-way traffic for the majority of it. As I kind of predicted, that kind of Friday night under the lights atmosphere at Ellen Road, sucking in Nottingham Forest and couldn't get out of it, to be honest. And yeah, Leeds were pretty good.
I think we have to start talking about Leeds under the lights. Apparently they've got an unbeaten record, or apparently they've got a 100% record under the lights this season.
We did start talking. We started talking about it last episode.
I think it's 5 out of 5 wins now for them under the lights. So incredible. Fair play to them. They deserved it. But I have to say, Forest were abysmal. They were absolutely abysmal. The third goal, watch that back. The number 44 for Leeds, I don't know who it was, but he has about 10 yards of space, and he literally has all the time in the world to pick out Dominic Calvert-Lewin to finish it. The defending is atrocious, and I think that's probably part of the way Dyche sets him up very reactive, very passive, and I think that's obviously cost him on that occasion.
It was Gruev.
Like it was ridiculous. One of the worst defending I've ever seen. Like they just literally no one closed him down.
Yeah,
and he took like about 5 touches before he had to pick anyone out. It was ridiculous, and he had like 3 men around him, and no one's closing him down. But fair play to Leeds, brilliant result, and definitely important for them to bounce back after a bad defeat at home to Arsenal, where they just thoroughly got outplayed. So it was important for them to just get back on track very quickly, and it was a confident win, a really good win. And look, as I said before, they're not out of the woods yet. They're 6 points clear of the relegation zone, and they're doing all right, but they're not out of the woods. Obviously, Forest, that performance, considering the circumstances, you've got to be very concerned about that, because at the moment they're only 3 points away from the relegation zone. They're fighting for every point they can get. Well, they should be, I'm saying, fighting for every point they can get. And this was such a lackluster, tepid performance. Dyche has got to be furious with what he saw.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's kind of the way I expected it to go. I thought 1 goal for Leeds and potentially it could end up being a comprehensive victory for Leeds United, and that's exactly what happened. Like, Forest just got completely overrun in that first half. Effort levels, desire levels, commitment, everything was in that performance for Leeds United. Like you said, there's just something about Ellen Road under the lights with those fans, and the place was absolutely bouncing. Oh, the fans were incredible for Leeds United. So I definitely think the 12th man definitely helped them in this game. But yeah, look, good result for Leeds, terrible result for Nottingham Forest, but both lived to see another day. Moving on. Manchester United 2, Tottenham 0. You went for 3-2 to United. I went for 2-1. So we both get a point here. And yeah, it's just like, look, it was an even game up until the half an hour. The big talking point is obviously Cuti Romero's red card, which has brought up a lot of conversations here, there and everywhere about Cuti Romero, about his disciplinary record. 6 red cards for Tottenham, 4 in the Premier League, equalled Younes Kaboul's record for most Premier League red cards for Tottenham as well. And yeah, it wasn't a great challenge, and I think he deserved to see red, but the game hinged on that moment. That's the reality. I thought it was fairly even up until that point. And then Frank takes off Odegaard. Spurs are pretty much out the game up until, well, that was it. United got a goal before half-time, got a goal after the break, and that was game done.
Yeah, I think definitely Romero guilty of letting down the team, letting down the fans on the day with the red card, and just the nature of the challenge as well, just clumsy, reckless. I think a player with another name or with a different shirt maybe gets seen a yellow, but I honestly don't think he can have any complaints. He goes a bit over the top, albeit it's not like the highest challenge, but the Casemiro's ankle buckles, it's potentially very dangerous, and he can have no complaints, especially as well. It led from him overrunning the ball, albeit what preceded that was him being fouled. But I think Romero's probably reputation didn't help him. Mike Oliver very quick to get the red card out. We saw obviously on the day another challenge later in the day at Sunderland, worse than that, not being given a red. So the inconsistency of the referee is very frustrating. But at the end of the day, the game definitely changed, and after that it was always going to be an uphill battle for Tottenham, especially what we conceded 5 minutes or 10 minutes after the red card, didn't we?
Yeah.
So as soon as that happens, it's going to be very, very difficult when you're losing and down to 10 men. But in terms of what you're saying, we were good for half an hour. Yeah, it was a pretty even game for half an hour, but I know this is a different circumstance, but it's just such a common theme, isn't it, this season, especially recently? Oh, we were good for half an hour here, we were good for 20 minutes there. Like, we just can't seem to get more than that out of this team at the moment. And maybe with the injury crisis, that's understandable. But still, it's been a common theme, and it's very, very frustrating. And it's another defeat for Tottenham at the end of the day, despite the difficulties on the day with the red card and 10 men and the circumstances, going away to a confident Man United team. At the end of the day, it's 2 wins in 16. Tottenham are 6 points outside the relegation zone, injury ravaged. There seems to be a lack of belief right now on the pitch, and Tottenham fans are understandably worried with that looming threat of relegation creeping further and further up.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think about. Only about 5 weeks ago, before Man United embarked on this run, there are only four points separating the sides in the Premier League. And you now look at United, 4 wins on the bounce, and they're very much firmly, I think we've got to say, favourites probably now to get Champions League spots in the Premier League.
3 points behind Villa.
Yeah, so it's crazy. So, I mean, that's what shows you what a run can do for you in this league. But, yeah, I mean, warning signs, big warning signs for Tottenham Hotspur now. 6, like you mentioned, 6 points. And with Newcastle at home to come, Arsenal at home to come in the next couple of games, they need to somehow get some results. And we need to pick up points, and we need to pick up points fast, because the gap is closing. It seems like it's closing every week.
Yeah, the record is really atrocious. It's so bad. After we won 5 of the first 9, and now then we won only 2 since, and we're now on game week 25. I think for the last 20 games, or something, we're in the relegation zone in terms of form. It's madness to think about how bad the form actually is. We've got 12 points in our last 16 games. So when you're looking at that and you're thinking, yeah, Tottenham will be fine. Well, the evidence suggests we won't be. And not in terms of we're going down, but the evidence suggests it ain't going to be easy. Like, it's going to be a bit of a fight. We're going to have to dig in and get as many points as we can. It's not going to be plain sailing. And especially, we're probably in our worst moment squad-wise, injury-wise, than we have been throughout the whole season. So when we're in our worst moment and we've been getting the results even before that, and we've got Romero out for 4 games, it's scary times for Tottenham. And yeah, I mean, I think they'll be all right, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's one game week we end in the relegation zone between now and the end of the season. That's a scary thought. That
is a scary thought. But look, enough of that. Let's move on. Well, I don't even want to move on to the next one, but let's move on to the next one. Arsenal 3, Sunderland 0. Sim went for 3-0. I went for 2-0. So it looked like I was on my way to a 5-pointer. I said to Sammy, look, I've got a 5-pointer for Arsenal. And then I looked, 93rd minute, goal for Victor Gyökeres, sealing Sim's 5-pointer, and I got relegated to 1 point. But yeah, I mean, look, I think this followed a similar theme in Arsenal games. Not great in the first half, pretty even game, and then they sealed it off in the second, and they took the game to Sunderland in the second half, and they got the victory they deserved. Kai Havertz obviously back in the team the last few weeks, not playing up front, which he usually has been for Arsenal, playing in the number 10. And yeah, I think it's suiting him well, to be honest, Kai Havertz. I think he's doing a much better job than what Martin Odegaard was doing.
Yeah, good win for Arsenal. I wasn't watching, I was on my way back from Manchester, but I know Sunderland, as much as they've been good at home, they actually haven't been so great away from home. They struggle to kind of score goals away from home, and they kind of change the way they play a bit when they are away, and they have struggled for results. So Arsenal kind of, as soon as they open the game up with that goal from Zubimendi outside the box, that's sometimes, I think,
great goal,
it's a good goal, and I think that's what you have to do when you're playing against a low block. Either you score from a set piece, or a moment of magic to open the game up like Zubimendi provided. Brilliant strike, edge of the box, and I think it's his 6th goal, and that's more goals now than he scored in the last 5 seasons, I think, combined. So clearly Arteta has been able to find that ability out of him.
He's been their signing of the season, hasn't he?
Brilliant player. Gyökeres, that'll give him confidence. I mean, look, 2 fine goals. Second one was obviously a counter right at the end, open goal. The first one, it was a weird one because he looks awkward, but he's in the box, he's stumbling, but he just about gets enough power on the shot to force it home. And a brace for him, that'll do him the world of good because, this is a striker who hasn't been banging him in left, right and centre. But ever since those stats came out about Arsenal's forward players, they seem to be scoring a few more goals. So maybe that's something that's been addressed. But they look confident, that I think that 4-0 win against Leeds really calmed them down after some dodgy league results before that. And they looked in confident mood here.
Yeah, I think that Man United defeat was a real wake-up call for Arsenal, to be honest. And, Arteta apparently had to sit them down and say, you know what, look, we're in a great position here. Let's just play, with a smile on our face and we're favourites here. So I think they're playing like it at the moment. So a 4-0 win, backed up with a 3-0 win. Arsenal fans can't really complain at the moment. So, yeah, they're definitely in pole position right now. That's the reality. Let's move on to Bournemouth 1, Aston Villa 1. We both went for 2-2, so we both get a point here. Villa taking the lead in the early stages of the game with Morgan Rogers and Bournemouth's brand new signing, Ryan. First start, first goal. He's now come in to replace Semenyo, and he's got a golden assist in about a game and a bit. And yeah,
I mean, 100 million now? Probably.
Yeah, you know what? He's getting close to it, but I think. Right, what a goal it was. I think the defending was shocking, to be honest, for it. They just completely stood off him, but you got to take advantage of it. You still got to put it in the back of the net, and that's what he did. But, I always thought this game was going to be a draw, and that's how it came. Yeah,
the finish from Ryan is brilliant. It's kind of just like, it's on the floor, but it like spins Ryan to the corner. It's a fantastic finish. But yeah, Luca Dean, I mean, he has to hang his head in shame. He's literally supposed to be defending against him, and he just watches him. He's not like jockeying or anything. He's just like looking at him and just like watches him go past him without even putting in a challenge. That was really odd. It was almost as if it was on purpose. It's really strange if you watch it back. But Bournemouth, unlucky not to get all 3 points. I think Villa, brilliant goal from Rodgers early on, giving them the lead. But how it is with Bournemouth. You know that the way they play, if you're not at the top of your game, they're going to create chances. They're going to throw the kitchen sink at you. And that's what they did. They ended up getting the goal. And look, they've really turned their form around ever since beating Spurs. I think they're unbeaten, 3 wins, 2 draws in their last 5 games. So good win. But has Aston Villa's bubble burst a bit? Are they... look, it's hard to say bubble burst when they're still sitting in 3rd, but now 1 win in 5. Are the results starting to match the underlying data? Is it starting to turn a bit?
No, I don't think it is unfair to say as the bubble burst. I think it has burst because when you're 4 points from the top and now you're in a scrap for the top 4, then that's going to be a disappointment. But I think if you would have said to Villa fans, this is where you're going to be at this stage of the season, I think they would have, bitten your hand off for it. So it's one of those weird situations. But yeah, I think with the form of Manchester United, with the uptick in form from Chelsea as well, I think Villa have got to be a bit worried. I do think they'll finish in the top 5 still because I think Liverpool are still really inconsistent. But
I think Liverpool have some really good fixtures coming up, like in general.
So who do Liverpool have? So they've got Forest away, West Ham at home, Wolves away, Tottenham at home. Yeah, you're right. They're playing all of the bottom 6 pretty much.
And on Tuesday they got Sunderland, which is obviously a difficult place to go, but they do end the season with some really tough fixtures. But
Villa also have those. They got Brighton at home next, who can't buy a win at the moment. They got Leeds at home. They got Wolves away, and then they got a double header against Chelsea and Manchester United. So that could be the real 6 pointers in there for Aston Villa. But look, I think Unai Emery will be disappointed with the most recent results for sure. But they're still in a decent position.
Yeah, and I don't think they'll be too down. It'd be interesting to see come late in the season. When Europa League is getting to the knockout stages, what the priorities are. Because unfortunately, with the injuries they have, their squad's now a bit thin. Watkins, I think, is he injured at the moment, or did he play?
Started?
He started. Okay, so he's not injured. So the squad is still a bit thin anyway, and it'll be interesting to see what they prioritise. Do they go for that Europa League, which he knows he can win? He's won it so many times, and that's a guaranteed Champions League spot, or do they prioritise trying to get as high up in the league as they can?
Yeah. All right, Burnley against West Ham. Big game down at the bottom. West Ham took full advantage, won 2-0 at Turf Moor. You went for 1-0, I went for 3-1. Both get a point here. Look, I think we all expected West Ham to win this game, as our prediction suggests. Somerville carry on his fine form. And look, I think this was a classic Nuno display, to be honest, to go 2-0 up early and sit back and soak up the pressure for the second half. Burnley were asking questions in the second half, but they didn't have enough to break down the West Ham team at the end of the day. And I think that's all but relegated Burnley, that result.
Yeah, if there was any suggestion they could save themselves, they had to get a result in this game. 11 points, I mean, I don't think anyone's stayed up from this position before, have they? 11 points away.
Like, I think they won't even get 4 wins for the rest of the season. Never mind hoping for the other team to drop points.
Yeah, so I think they probably realise it, but I'm sure they'll keep fighting until it's mathematically impossible. But yeah, good win for West Ham. Good first half, just kind of blew Burnley away early doors and then settled for the result and made sure they took 3 points. And it was a massive 3 points. They know they needed to win this game if they want to give themselves the best shot of staying up. And they've cut the gap now to 3 points after a few weeks ago when they lost to Forest at home. It all seemed like it was heading in one direction, and they're all like, I think it was 8 points, and everyone was saying, are they down? Is it over? Well, they've clawed it back, and they've had a sensational last 4 games. The only game they lost was the game they were 2-0 up against Chelsea. And yeah, Somerville's really come into his own. He's found a new kind of level out of Somerville. He's like looking like the winger that everyone hoped they signed from Leeds at the moment. He's looking electric, to be honest. And not only that, he's got that little final product as well. And he's scoring some great goals. It was a lovely dinked finish. And as well, the other striker, Castellanos, he's looking a bit handy, isn't he? And that was a great header. And it's not his first goal, is it? He scored against QPR in the Cup. Yeah. And he's looked quite good in the other games in the Premier League. So is the signings to save themselves? They're looking decent at the moment.
Yeah. Who would have thought you make a few signings in the January transfer window and then things can look up? But you know who their best signing was? This assistant manager. I don't know where he come from, Paco something or other. He came in just before the Tottenham game. And their fortunes have completely changed since then. So I don't know what he's doing on the training ground, but it seems to be working.
Absolutely, and they've got more points in their last 4 games than we have in our last 16 or something stupid. So they're really on an upward trajectory. You always knew West Ham. I always had the feeling that a big club like West Ham, they ain't going to go down without a fight. They're not going to go down with a whimper. If they're going to go down, it'll be like a last day thing. So I think they're going to take it all the way. No guarantees at the moment, but they're in form, and that's all they can ask for at the moment.
Yeah. Obviously, difficult games coming up for them as well, so I have to wait and see. I mean, Spurs and West Ham look like they've got the most difficult fixtures over the next 4 or 5 games, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, let's go over to Craven Cottage. Fulham 1, Everton 2. We both went for Fulham wins, so 0 points for us. Yeah, really interesting game because Fulham were 1-0 up at half-time and thoroughly deserved, because I thought Fulham were the better team, created a multiple amount of chances, could have been more than one, to be honest. And then I don't know what happened in that second half, but they just completely took their foot off the gas, maybe run out of steam or something. And Everton really came back in the game and turned it around late on. Dewsbury Hall and an own goal from Leno. And Everton take 3 points from Craven Cottage. Big result for them.
Yeah, they've been doing that a lot recently, haven't they, Everton? Having poor starts and just clawing it back late in the game. And they did against Brighton last week, and they've done it here against Fulham. And it's not an easy result. Fulham are very good at home. They're always difficult to play against. So to turn that around was impressive. And yeah, Leno's own goal, really poor from him, punching it in his own net late in the game. Good, solid victory by Everton, staying in the game, picking their moments, and they got the win. And now, incredibly, 2 points from Liverpool, which is mad.
Can you imagine if the unthinkable happens?
They finish above Liverpool. David Moyes. Look, he's doing a good job, David Moyes. Credit to him. I think at times, it always happens with Moyes, or whatever club he's at times you'll go through periods where you're 5-6 games out of win, not looking good, and everyone's questioning what the hell's going on. And then they'll go through a period like now where they are picking up consistent results and they found kind of a good formula for themselves. So Moyes is a good manager. He always has been, and especially for this kind of level. And look, he's got Everton in Europe. He's got West Ham in Europe. Could he get Everton back in Europe again? Who knows? I mean, they're right in that fight now.
They all say, in terms of managers, don't go back to your ex. Seems to be working fine for Everton.
Seems to be doing all right. Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's go to Molineux. Wolves 1, Chelsea 3. Cole Palmer with the first half hat-trick. Sim went for 3-1, so he gets 5 points. I got 1 point for saying 2-0. 2 penalties and a goal from Cole Palmer in the first half to pretty much seal the game. Obviously, Wolves got one back in the second half, but the game was done by then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was a quick-fire hat-trick. What was it? 35th minute, 13th minute, 35th minute, and 38th minute, and the game was done.
Yeah, pretty much that was quick and easy, wasn't it? Cole Palmer, a couple of penalties, I think deservedly so. I mean, stupid defending from the Wolves players, especially the both of them really. The second one, put two hands in the back, like completely unnecessary. The first one, Matt Doherty just mistimed his challenge in the box and just really slack defending. And give yourself a mountain to climb, don't you, once you give away 2 penalties. He makes it through with a nice finish. Easy does it. I wasn't watching it, but don't think there's too much analysis to say in terms of just a simple win. Wolves would be frustrated. They obviously got a goal back in the second half, but after a little mini rally Wolves had during the season, they're now back to 3 defeats on the bounce. So is normal service resumed with Wolves?
Well, I still think they're performing better in games than they were before, even if results aren't going their way. But they do sit there with 8 points. And there is a genuine threat there to be the worst ever Premier League side.
Yeah, definitely. And they only need one win, but at the moment, it's everyone sees Wolves as a game they have to win, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because of how low they are, and they're pretty much already down. So when everyone is targeting you, it's tough to get those results when you know you're already down.
Yeah. Looking at their fixtures, I mean, Forest away. Forest will definitely see that as a key opportunity for 3 points. Arsenal, Palace, Villa, Liverpool. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them to get at least one win. They got Burnley last game of the season. So it could be all on that one.
It could be all on that one.
For worst Premier League team of all time. St James's Park, Newcastle 2, Brentford 3. What a game this was. We both went for Newcastle wins. This Brentford side keeps surprising us. And this Newcastle side keeps surprising us as well, how bad they can actually be, because they are 12th in the league, but only 4 points above Tottenham. And we're talking about how bad Tottenham have been. Newcastle, we were talking about, are they going to be challenging for Europe this season? It doesn't seem so at this moment in time. But in this game, you just got to commend the Brentford never say die attitude, man. Obviously, they go 1-0 down, overturn it to 2-1. Newcastle get a penalty with 15 minutes to go, and you're thinking, all right, they score it. You're thinking, all right, can Newcastle go on and get that winner now? But nope. Brentford said, this is our night tonight. And Dango Otara pops up with a winner with 5 minutes to go, and Newcastle couldn't find a response.
Yeah, it's all gone very flat at the moment for Newcastle. Again, very reminiscent of a couple of years ago, but it seems as though when the energy isn't there for them, they can't find another way of winning games, and they're especially in these games like at home to Brentford, where they're trying to physically dominate them and they're trying to overpower them. And when they're not able to do it, they're very open. And I think they've been exposed a bit. Wissa, he'd been injured most of the season, but he's been a bit hit and miss since he's come back into the team. I think, they're still relying on Murphy, who I know has his qualities, but he's just not of the quality they need, is he? People like him. Then definitely the midfield balance, when it's not Joe Linton, Tonali and Guimaraes all together, seems to be a bit off as well. They can't seem to find that right balance. And the defence, some ageing players in there, like the Trippier and Shah, like they are getting on a bit. So does it need a bit of a refresh there? So there are definitely problems, especially when they've been playing 2 games a week for a lot of the season. I think definitely feels like Newcastle do need a bit of a refresh in certain positions, and it's maybe leading to what we're seeing. I'm sure they'll be fine when it comes to slipping down the table. I'm pretty sure they'll be top half, but at the moment they are 5 games out win, 3 losses in a row in the Premier League. So a lot of Newcastle fans very frustrated. Eddie Howe getting some awkward questions in press conferences about his future. He says, if I didn't feel like I was the best man for the job, I would have walked. And obviously, we have a lot to improve and all this kind of stuff. But it is a familiar pattern with him in terms of brilliant when there's 1 game a week, and as soon as it goes back, they're back in Europe, they start falling again. So
I think the reality is with Newcastle, they need a bigger squad.
Yeah.
I think that's the reality. I don't think, look, it's obviously right to question Eddie Howe because this form can't carry on and this season's been a bit of a disaster for them. But I think the reality is they need a bigger squad, and obviously they've been trying to spend money, but they have to pick who they can get because of the PSR situation and everything like that. And I think the PSR just massively works against clubs like Newcastle and against clubs like Aston Villa who are trying to bridge that gap, but they just can't because the financial strength is just too much of a gap.
Yeah, and I think they have signed some good buys, but I think there's definitely players in that squad that just need upgrading in general and refreshing.
They signed good players, but what happened on the back of that? They had to sell like an Elliot Anderson for 40 million. You know what I mean? So there's always give and take.
Done with him right now, that's for sure.
That's what I'm saying. There's always give and like with the teams like Aston Villa and Newcastle. There's always give and take. Where you look at the teams like Arsenal and Liverpool and Tottenham to a certain extent, they don't need to sell these players to go and buy and add to the squad.
I also think the way with Isaac gone, it's just changed so much of how they play up front, and so much of how they played last season was based around how good he was, his finishing ability, and counter-attacking into that space. They just can't do that at the moment, and it's leading at the moment to a very harsh reality with Newcastle where they're sat. But Brentford, 7th in the league. It's now 2 wins on the bounce again. Right, they're level on points with Liverpool. Only 4 points behind Chelsea. In the race for Champions League. That's incredible kind of management from Keith Andrews and the whole team and the whole club at Brentford. The way they've pushed on from everyone was saying, at the end of last season, beginning of this season, no Frank, no Mbuemo, no Wissa, all their coaching staff gone. And they're just shutting everyone up. It's incredible the way that club is run, and they've got a very realistic chance of getting in Europe this season the way they're going. They just keep getting results, and Frank has gone to Spurs and they're 10 points ahead of us. 10 points. It's crazy the season they're having.
I think it's an unbelievable story. It really is for Keith Andrews, a set-piece coach, to come in with all the departures that they had on the coaching staff, on the pitch as well. And it wasn't just those players that left. Their captain left, and Norgard, the goalkeeper, left as well. Like, so many players left that club in the summer, and with the long drawn out saga of Wissa, there was just so much going against them going into this season, and I was one that think they were going to be in a relegation battle. So you got to commend them so much for how they've all stuck together and what they're producing on the pitch to a week-to-week basis. I do get the feeling though that this could be kind of like a bubble for Brentford, and I think like they could be riding a crest of a wave, and come next season they might be banging trouble again. However, this season, you got to just give them so much credit.
It's incredible what they've done right now. Is Keith Andrews got to be up there for manager of the season right now.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Brighton 0, Crystal Palace 1 in the big derby. Crystal Palace finally get their win. To be honest, it was two sides bang out of form going up against each other. Palace got it in the end with Ismail Yassar. Nice little finish from him. I went for 1-1. You went for 2-1 to Brighton. I mean, Brighton's poor form has really gone under the radar, hasn't it? They're only, 2 points above Spurs now in terms of their 14th. Palace have leapfrogged them now into 13th. Chance of Hertzler out in the stands. And when I was hearing those Hertzler out, because I was watching this game, when I was hearing those Hertzler out chants, I was like, wait a second, why are they chanting for Hertzler out? Then I started to look through their form, and I was like, wow, this is actually really bad.
1 in 12.
I know, and I couldn't believe it, because I thought Brighton were getting wins here and there, but no, they weren't. And, is there a genuine conversation to be had here about Hertzler? Because we all commend Brighton and the way it's run and the signings that they make and how they sell players and who they bring in after that. But they're having a shocking season.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't up until they are at the moment. It's a weird thing. Like, Hertzler hasn't been talked about at all in terms of his job being under pressure or Brighton fans being unhappy. But it's kind of just crept up on, maybe people aren't just taking notice, but it's kind of crept up on them. And all of a sudden, are they in danger potentially if this form continues being dragged down with the teams below them into that relegation conversation, because they're not getting wins. They're also quite easy to play against in the sense that, yes, they play nice football, but if they're not getting that on point, they're very easy to open up and very easy to score against. And tactically, they've got, I feel like if you're going to play that kind of way, you need to be confident and you need to be on your game pretty much most games. And at the moment, they're way off it. So unless Hertzler's going to start playing in a way that's just going to get them a few results, maybe they will start to slide down. But I don't know. I feel like this happened last season as well. He went through a long stretch of games without winning, and then he turned it around. I always feel like it's at this point of the season, Brighton seem to struggle. Then, like near the end, when it comes to like March, April, they start to turn it on again.
I think it happens a lot with various different Brighton managers. To be honest, I've expected like Potter. It happened with a lot. I think De Zerbi even happened with, but I think this is especially bad. Like it really is. Like to be where they are in the league, particularly how it's so close together. Like I remember them going on runs, like winless runs, but this is we're talking about 2-3 months here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not good. And the Brighton fans was chanting he got sacked in the morning. I think the main frustration is obviously a derby game, and they weren't good. And I think the biggest thing is after Palace got scored, I don't think Brighton had a shot. For half an hour, I think Palace scored on the hour mark, and for half an hour, Brighton didn't even have a shot. How can you not have a shot when you're at home losing 1-0? How is that possible? How does that happen? And so when that happens, you're going to get
especially when you're an attacking side.
Yeah, you're going to get big frustrations in the crowd, on top of obviously the bad form. But in this specific game, I think it's just all boiled over because of the circumstances. So I think he's definitely under pressure. I don't think he's going to go. But look, he's under pressure when you're in this kind of form. Of course, question marks are going to be asked. If they drop any further down the league, maybe they'll start to question his position. But I think he'll be all right at the moment. Palace, though, big win, needed this win. And they defended really well in the game. Glasner seemed a relieved man getting that win. And it just kind of calms the fears that they're going to be dragged into that relegation battle. Because that's increased they're now 9 points away from 18th. So at that point, you're thinking they should be okay.
Not only are they 9 points away, but their next 2 games are Burnley and Wolves at home.
Yeah, if they can get a couple wins or 4 points out of those 2, you should be all right, you'd think.
Yeah. All right, and what a game this was, the last one.
Man.
Liverpool 1, Manchester City 2. We both went for 2-2. I mean, Man City, I thought, took Liverpool a bit to the cleaners in the first half. And Liverpool just couldn't handle, particularly in that midfield battle, I felt, what Man City were throwing them. But this is a consistent theme that we're seeing with Manchester City, where they play well in first halves and a complete drop-off in the second half. I thought Liverpool came out with such motivation that second half. It was still 0-0 at half-time, so it was all to play for, and Man City must be kicking their teeth. Well, not now because they won the game, but at half-time they must have been kicking their teeth not to have the advantage at half-time, because they were by far the better side, in my opinion. And Liverpool came up back into it in a big way. They took the lead, and you're thinking, oh, God, is the title race over? Because I think if Man City would have lost yesterday, I think the title race was all but over, in my opinion. So Man City had to win to stay within that 6-point gap of Arsenal. But once Liverpool scored, and deservedly so, because they were by far the better team, all carnage just ensued on that pitch. What the hell happened in that last 10-15 minutes on that pitch? First of all, the penalty. Do you think it was a penalty?
Yes, I do. On Nunes, 100%. It was a penalty.
What's Alisson doing? Like, Alisson's just come rushing out. The ball's going out of play.
Rush of blood to the head. Didn't need to do that. Even if Nunes controlled the ball, he wasn't exactly in the most dangerous position. So I think Alisson has to take responsibility for that. He nearly cost them as well, nearly in the beginning of that half when he comes flying out and Marmoush pulls out the challenge, and he got a bit lucky with that. Alisson just a rush of blood to the head, got it all wrong. Yeah,
so obviously that was the winning goal. Before that, Bernardo Silva scored from the Erling Haaland assist. And I thought Erling Haaland actually in this game, obviously, I think the goals have been weighing on his head a little bit. And I think he had a bit of a different role in this game, didn't he? He was creating a bit more than he was trying to get on the end of things because he had Marmoush.
Yeah, I think maybe in knowing that his record at Anfield, no goals he's ever scored at Anfield before yesterday.
Was that his first goal at Anfield?
First goal at Anfield. So I think maybe that plays on his mind a bit in terms of like, okay, if I'm not going to score, let me impact the game in a different way because I don't have a good record here. And I think he did in a lot of sense. He did have a couple of chances, didn't he, in the first half, which especially one of them he should have done a lot better. And he didn't make the most of it. But yeah, he definitely was trying to impact the game in a different way, trying to bring Marmoush into the game, it felt like, from running off the left. That was a clear tactic, I felt. And obviously he ended up being the match winner. It definitely seemed like a turnaround of a team who, first of all, they needed that. You could see at the end of the game how much they needed it, how much it meant to them. Even though the gap is still 6 points, there was something different about that win than the other ones because of the circumstance, because of being 1-0 down with under 10 minutes to go and needing the win to turn it around, because of the setting at Anfield where they struggle really badly year on year to get wins. I think that the win will add fuel to their belief that we can chase down this Arsenal team, and we're not going to basically go down without a fight. And that was a massive psychological boost for them as well. And also maybe for Arsenal looking at it, thinking probably 10 minutes ago, they're thinking, wow, 9 points, this title's within our grasp, and then to have that snatched away might affect them a bit. We'll see how psychologically it affects them.
I think that last 10 minutes can have a major psychological boost on both sides, but
and Diaz being back for City is massive.
Yeah, he came on, didn't he?
Massive.
I think with Erling Haaland as well, stepping up in the 93rd minute, a penalty to win the game as well. That is a proper pressure cooker moment, isn't it? And the way he finished that was incredible. But the biggest talking point is the third goal that never was. I mean, what madness was that? So Haaland's got the ball. He fouls Szoboszlai, and then Cherki gets the ball, and I don't even know what happened. Szoboszlai hacked down Cherki. Cherki tries to finish the ball.
No, what happened was Cherki's on the halfway line, open goal. He slides it towards the open goal. Not a lot of pace on it, so Haaland still has to chase after it. Haaland's going to get there and tap it into the empty net, but Szoboszlai pulls him back and prevents him. And then Szoboszlai's about to clear off the line, and Haaland yanks him back and prevents him. So they're both fouled each other. The ball ends up rolling into the back of the net, and the referee gives the goal. I think the justification for him thinking, look, Szoboszlai fouled him. Haaland then fouls him back, and the ball ends up back of the net. Bob's your uncle. It's even, and the goal's been given. Now, by the letter of the law,
it's the right decision.
Yeah. But I think this is a clear way of this is what people are talking about when they talk about VAR ruining the game. I hate when people look at that decision and say, well, VAR did come to the right decision. Like, okay, I get that. Forensically, it's the right decision. Technically, it's the right decision. But I think the decision for the referee to use common sense in that moment and say, look, there was one foul by Szoboszlai and Haaland, one foul by Haaland and Szoboszlai. Ball rolls in the back of the net. It's a goal.
Whose foul was it first? Wasn't it Haaland on Szoboszlai first?
No, Szoboszlai on Haaland first.
You sure about that?
That's why it was a red card.
So, I mean, I think the whole thing was just stupid, to be honest.
So Szoboszlai got sent off for denying a goal-scoring opportunity, despite the fact it went into the back of the net.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
This whole thing could have just been avoided, man. It's just stupid. But at the end of the day, it didn't change the outcome of the game. But what it could change is goal difference. That one goal come the end of the season could actually be massive.
It could. Look, I wouldn't say Man City got robbed. I just think in a sense that they were like, it's not fair that the goal didn't stand. But I would say is what football fans want to see in those moments is referees use a bit of common sense, use their own judgment to determine what should happen in those moments, because those are obviously very rare circumstances, what we saw yesterday. And I think the referee came with the right conclusion. Look, Szoboszlai doesn't get sent off. Man City get the goal, everyone wins, and that, we just move on from there, because there's no point of going back and sending off Szoboszlai for denying goal scoring opportunity when they scored. So you might as well just give the goal. But because the laws are there and VAR is there to implement the rules, it's an unavoidable situation, because VAR is always going to say, well, we have to stick to the rules. So these are the rules, and you have to enforce them properly and to the letter. So VAR is always going to force the referee in that situation to go back and change his decision. So that is the problem when you have VAR, because it removes that element of the referee to be able to use common sense and able to manage the game in his own way, because VAR's like, look, you have to stick to the rules. Yeah, look, it took the fun out of a really good ending to the game, didn't it? And that would have been like one of the moments of the title, but of the season, But anyway, I think what we got to look at here is Ryan Cherki. Why didn't he just welly it instead of like p-roll it down the middle? If he goes for a real finish there, that takes out all of this. I know. So it was he caused the chaos, didn't he? But it was absolutely brilliant. But what a goal by Szoboszlai, by the way. We didn't talk about that. Yeah. What what a...
We know he's got it in him.
Is he the best free kick taker in the league? I mean,
I think he is.
Unbelievable. I mean, I thought I couldn't see better than that Arsenal one he did early in the season.
No
that
saving
was
that.
incredible.
No saving that.
This one was even better. I mean, the swerve, the dip, it was absolutely... It defied physics, that goal. It was unbelievable. Donnarumma just couldn't even move, beating all ends up. Incredible from Dominic Szoboszlai. I've always felt, we saw it at Leipzig, but when he came to the Premier League his first couple of years, we didn't see it that much, like that ability from outside the box. But this season, he's showing that he can do it consistently, and he's got a wand of a right boot, and he's having a phenomenal season in general. But yeah, those goals are just the icing on the cake, aren't they? He had a really busy game, didn't he?
He did. Goal, sending off. But anyway, star men, you went for Junior Krupi, who got no goals, no assists.
Oh, shot cleared off the line.
Yeah, I went for Somerville, who did score, and I think it's the first time we've gone head for head, and there was a goal scored, so I'm very happy about that. Curse. But I do drop behind 2 points going into game week 26, 247 to Sim, 245 to me. There'll be an episode of Predict the Prem out to date as well, so keep your eyes peeled for that one, and we'll see you then.